Students, welcome back to the last video lectures on this chapter, that is sound. Okay, so this sound chapter is one of the most lengthiest chapters that we have gone through it. So in this video lectures we will try to cover up the entire topics on this sound, and we'll proceed to the next video, that is chemical effect of electric currents. Okay, so we have learned that different types of different how does the sound travels and how do we hear, right? So today we'll discuss why do sound difference. You see, my sounds are different than your sound, right? We might have heard varieties of different types of sound produced by the different vibrating objects. We can easily make out the difference between them. The sound of cedars and violins or guitars. The sound of crows different from the sound of cuckoos. Even the sounds of different boys in the class are different, right? The sound of the girls and the boys are also somehow different as compared to the somehow different if we compare them. Okay, so what makes them this sound so different? The different object as a different you see, because the different object produce different sound. This is because either they have a different loudness or different pitch or both. Okay, they may either have a different loudness or they may either have a different pitch. Okay, so what is the loudness it is? Okay, what is the you see topic we have covered? Why do sound different? The different object produce different sound because either they have a different loudness or different pitch or both. Okay, now what is the loudness or intensity of sound? A loudness is a characteristic of the sound which distinguishes a feeble sound from a loud sound of the same frequency. Okay, you see, loudness of sound depend upon the amplitudes. Okay, depend upon the amplitudes. Okay, higher the amplitude, the higher the amplitude. Okay, more amplitude. If there's more amplitude, that means what? The more sound, the more the sound will be loudness. Okay, the sound will be loudness. Okay, so now the amplitude of sound. Now the amplitude of sound waves is directly related to energy it carries also. So we can say more the energy is carries by the sound waves. Okay, more if more energy is carried by the sound waves, louder will be the sound produced. Okay, louder is the sound produced. Okay, in the same situation such as whisperings or pluckings of the musical instrument, generally we use very less energies. The result, the sound become the less sound produced, that means feeble sound produced. Okay, so whenever we try to pluck in or whisper this what is that musical instrument, that means they produce very slow, right? Very low sounds are being produced. That is what we call as that we can say. But if we try to hit it harder to the guitars or any musical instrument, they produce more loud sound. Okay, so loudness. Okay, loudness, what is that? They depends on energies, means they're directly related, they are directly relating to them, they are directly relating to the energies that carries. Okay, so here you see loudness also depend on the area of the vibrating objects. Okay, if the area of the vibrating of the large, like you see talk about a drum, will produce a louder sound. Okay, then a smaller drum which struck with the same force. If the areas of the two drums, if one drum is bigger than another drum is very small. Okay, you might have seen in during the 15 August or during Republic Days, right? So the musical instrument they used to play. Okay, so whenever they hit a small drum, they produce very low sound. But whereas whenever they hit the larger drums, they produce a very high sound. Okay, so they also depend on the areas. Next is what? Loudness will also decreases when they're increasing the distance from the source of sound. Okay, so if you are standing from the very far, if you're standing very far away, okay, if you're standing far away from the loudspeaker, that means you will hear very low sound as compared to you will hear very low sound. Okay, so it is for the same reason that you move to the front desk when you cannot hear your teacher voice, right? If you are far away from the loudspeaker, that means you will have very low sound. Okay, but if you are nearby, that means you will hear very high sound. Okay, so you see loudness. Okay, the higher the amplitude, the higher is the displacement of the particle, the higher is the loudness of the sound. Okay, the more amplitude will be there, that means more displacement will be there. If more displacement is there, means more energy is there, means they will produce more sound. Okay, but loudness of the sound is directly proportional to the squares of the amplitude. If more amplitude is there, that means more louder sound will be there. Okay, but and what is the how do we measure? We measure the loudness by the sound by decibels. Okay, dB, that is decibels. Okay, we measure the loudness by the decibels. Okay, So loudness increases with amplitude of vibrating objects. Lightness increases with increasing surface areas. Okay, next is what? Loudness will decrease with increasing the distance from the source of sound. So these are the three important points that you have to remember. Okay, so next we have another topic, that is what we call pitch of the sound. Pitch is the effects produced in the ear due to the sound of some particular frequencies. You might have heard some girls, they have high pitch, right? So if you take if they talk or if they smoke to us, that means their sound that irritates us, they feel more irritating, right? They have a high pitch sound. Okay, so most of the women's of the voice of the woman is more shrill than the voice of the man. That means a shrill is what we call a high pitch sound, whereas a soft or less shrill sound is called as a low pitch. Okay, if there's a high shrill, that means this is what we call high pitch sound. If there's soft and less shrill, is what we call as a low pitch. So also every musical instrument vibrates. Okay, every musical instrument vibrates to produce a different kind of sound. This quality of sound is characterized by different qualities of sound, maybe have a different pitch and soundness. So the pitch of the sound depend upon the frequency of the sound waves. The pitch will depend upon the frequency, whereas loudness will depend upon the amplitude and the area. Okay, the pitch will depend upon the pitch of the sound will depend upon the frequency of the sound. The pitch would be higher if the frequency of the sources sound is high. Okay, so based on the sound, you see, if there is more shrill, like if there is no shrill, that means they produce a low pitch and what we call as a bass also, or flat also, right? Like musical instrument like flutes, on the basis of vibration of ear columns of the different lengths. Okay, the sirens that used by the police or VIPs, okay, they work on the same principles. Okay, whenever the siren started, it produces a sound of low pitch. However, as the speed of its rotating disc increases, they produce a sound of high pitch. Okay, the same reason again, if you talk about the mosquitoes, they produce a sound of high pitch as it's vibrating. Okay, due to vibration, due to vibrations of the wing, it produces due to vibrations of the wing rapidly, it produces a high pitch sound. Okay, so it become very irritating to hear it. Okay, next also we talk about wind blowing with a high speed, like produce a whistle sounds. Okay, whenever you whistle, they produce a alert sound, right? Because the whistles also work on the vibrations of the objects. Okay, so because of this, they produce a high pitch sound. So because it vibrates with the high frequencies, the sound produced by the jet plane is also of very high pitch because of the high frequencies. Okay, so these are some topics about the high pitch. Okay. So now what is the difference between the loudness and the pitch? Loudness, it is depend upon the extent of amplitude of vibrating bodies. Loudness will depend upon the amplitude, whereas the pitch will depend upon the frequencies. Okay, now the loudness depend upon the energies. This is determined by the amounts of the more you hit harder, the more they will produce. Okay, whereas the pitch does not depend upon the energies. Okay, it does not change with the change in frequencies. What is it? Whenever loudness does not depend if you change the frequencies. If you change the frequency, the loudness does not change. Whereas but if you talk about high pitch, if there's high frequency, they will produce high pitch, whereas if there's low frequency, they will produce a low pitch. Okay, so this is all about the loudness and the pitch. Okay, let's talk about the noise in the music. What is noise in the music? You know what is noise, right? Whenever like a sound which does not have a unpleasant sensations on the ear is what we call as a noise. So if there is not if our ear doesn't want to hear it, that is what we call as a noise, right? That is unpleasant sounds are there. That unpleasant sound is what we call as a noise. Scientifically, a noise is produced by the irregular vibration. If there is continuous irregular vibration, that means they will produce a noise. Okay, whereas the music which have a pleasant sensation of the ear is called as a music, you know, right? So most of us, we love to hear the music. Why? Because they have a pleasant sound, right? Because they have a pleasant sound, and it give us a good atmosphere to hear about it, right? So this is what we call as a music. Okay, so music is what scientifically is said a musical sound is produced by the regular vibration in the systemic vibrations. Okay, so this is what we call as a music. Now you see, how does a human produce a sound? Okay, how does a human produce a sound? Now when you talk about human produces sound, so you see sound produced by the human being. Okay, a voice box or the larynx. Okay, voice box or the larynx. A voice box or the larynx. Okay, larynx, I'm sorry. A voice box or the larynx is the most important source of sound in the human being. Okay, voice box, what we call as apples. Okay, Adam's apple, what we call is there in our most of them you can see in the human. Okay, like men. Okay, so the larynx is the most important source of sound in the human. Okay, two ligaments. Okay, this is a two ligaments, not tau. Okay, this is two ligament commonly known as a vocal cord stretch across the larynx, which allow the passes. This will allow the passes the ear to go. Okay, and passes of ears between this between the narrow throat. So this is ear, not this is the ears. Okay, so I have done some typing mistakes. So this is ears. Okay, so this is ears and this is TWO. TWO2. Okay, so this is your TWO numbers. Two ligaments commonly known as the vocal cords. Okay, stretch across the larynx. They will stretch across this larynx. Okay, and which allow the passes of air between the narrow slit. They will allow the passes of ears. Okay, so whenever the air from the lungs is forced, through it make the vocal cord to vibrate. Then they will start vibrating and hence produce a sound. Okay, the pitch of the sound is produced is changed by the muscles. The muscle which is connected with it, they keep on changing. This is the vocal cord, and when the vocal cord are tight and thin, they produce sound at high frequency. That means if your vocal cord is very tight and thin, they will produce high frequency, and due to which they will hear the high pitch. Okay, so most of the girls, they produce the high pitch because they don't have any larynx voice box, what you call Adam's apples. Okay, whenever the local vocal cords are low or thick, they produce the sounds of low frequencies. Okay, so this is what we call as a source of human, the main important source of sound in the humans. Okay, so because of this vibration, because of this larynx vibration, they produces a larynx they produces a vibrations. Okay, because of this larynx they produces a vibrations. Okay, so this is all about the human producer, the sound produced by the human being. Now let's talk about the next topic. Okay, that is noise pollution. What is noise pollution? You see, noise pollution can be defined as the presence of undesirables and unpleasant sound in the art environment. Okay, you might have seen the cars producing a different continuous horn. We are familiar with it since our schools are nearby to the road. We are familiar with the noise pollution produced by the many vehicles on the roadside, right? So this unpleasant and undesirable sound, okay, in the art environments, okay, it is very unpleasant to hear, so undesirable, that we don't want. Okay, such types of sound is what we call as noise pollutions. Okay, human being can bear sound ranging from up to 85 decibels only, but above that any noise can damage our hearing problem. So if human can hear only up to 85 decibels, okay, the loudness of 85 decibel only, but if it is more than 85, that means our eardrum may cause damage. Okay, so any sound that has a frequency of more than 30 decibels is considered as a noise. Okay, so World Health Organization is considered that any sound which is more than 30 decibel will consider as a noise. But unwanted noise causes an adverse effect on the health of the organism present. When this unwanted noise will produce a lot of impact on the environment, on the organisms, okay, present on the earth. According to the World Health Organization, the maximum sound limited is idle for the city is 45 decibels. Okay, up to 45 decibel only there's sound produced. But it has been found that the sound ranging in many cities of the world lies up to 90 decibels. Hence, the noise pollution is commonly mainly seen today, even in the cities, and even in the rural area to the great extent. Okay. So next, what is the cause of the noise pollution? Noise pollution mostly is caused by the transport noise. Okay, transport noise, that the sound of the traffic on the ground, on the roads, railways, in aircraft lead to noise pollution. As the numbers of the vehicles such as car, bus, truck is increasing in the cities, especially metropolitan, noise pollution is extremely high. Okay, so because of the high continuous cars and vehicles are increasing day by day, right? Because of this, they produces a lot of produce a lot of sound. Okay, and that produces you can see that the transportation on the traffic routes. Okay, so next is industrial, most like industry, factories and other commercial produce a high intensity sound that pollute the environment also. Next we have a border of neighboring hoods. Okay, you might have radios, televisions, air conditioner, cooler, kitchen applications, and even like inverters or televisions. Okay, so many electrical appliances are there which is used in the house. Okay, well, it may lead to the noise pollutions. Okay, your washing machines are also there. Okay, so many more machines are there which causes a noise pollutions. Next we have construction site. In a construction where is a house, industries, and whereas the regions are lead to the sound pollutions. Okay, you might have seen like many construction site they produce a lot of noise, right? So next we have a political activities. Whenever there is a political rallies, right? You might have seen in the movies and all, right? Whenever there is a rally and demonstration conducted by a political party in the cities, they produces a noise pollution also. Okay, so burstings of the crackers and the fireworks. Whenever we burst the crackers or fireworks. Okay, and next another also we have another one part that is a religious place also. Like if you go to the masjids or temples, or if you talk about in the church, okay, they produce a lot of noise pollution, right? So these are different types of the noise pollution, but that causes the noise pollutions. Okay, so let's discuss what is the effect of the noise pollution, how it is an impact to our environment, to us. Okay, if there is an excessive, okay, if there is an excessive noise pollutions are there, if there is excessive noise pollutions are there, okay, that means what they will lead to the various health problem like hypertension, lack of sleepiness, insomnias or anxieties, lack of memories, stress, irritations, and even nervous breakdowns also. Okay, it can lead to even a temporary or permanent hearing loss also. It may, if you stay continuous in the noise pollution, you may be sufferings of after some days you might you might not be able to hear it also. Okay, excessive noise leads to the increase in the blood pressure, means hypertension will be there. Okay, and then it increases the cholesterol levels in the blood and therefore increase the chance of cardiovascular disease problems. Okay, so there will be more problem, heart problem will be there. Okay, so many more heart problems and blood problem will increase. If the sound intensity is more than 100, this will lead to the death of the patient. If the sound is more than 180 decibel, that means on the spot only he may die. Okay, noise pollution can also lead to decrease in the pollutions of digestive juice by our bodies. Okay, if the continuous noise pollutions are there, that means our bodies may lead to the decrease in the digestive juice. Okay, it can affect the animal as well as can lead to the death and loss of the inhabitant. Excessive noise decreases the person's ability to concentrate, especially children. They are unable to concentrate well on their studies due to neighboring noise also. Okay, so less unwanted sound in the environment can hinder the animal from the finding the prey zone. Due to the sound, you see most of the animals, okay, they detected the prey and animal all those their foods by like by the noises or by their radiations, or what we call as what is that, ultrasounds or ultrasonics or ultrasounds. That way they try to detect it. But if there is noise pollutions out there, so animal will lose, okay, or it may stop them to find their foods, okay, or their directions of the motions. Okay, so this is what a different effect of the noise pollution. Next, you see how to prevent all this noise pollution. Factories and residents should be safe and distant from the residential areas. If there is a what is that, factories or industries, it should be placed, it should be kept in a far away from it. It should be in the outskirt areas. Okay, silencing the device should be incorporated in heavy vehicles such as aircraft, industrial equipment, machinery, and other home appliances. Okay, so whenever there is a like noise pollution in a vehicle, we will try to put some like silencers. Okay, silencing device should be put. Okay, but if you talk about in a mountain, you might have seen many bullets are there where they produce different types of sound. Okay, so this is totally it is good for them to drive, but it is quite disturbance to the others who is nearby living around the road. So we should be aware of this. Okay, we should always play the television, radios, and the music system at a low sound so that it does not harm the neighbors. Okay, whenever you are playing the sound, some of them they are playing with a so loud voice as if that they have everything in their home, right? But this is not the ways of playing. We should think about the others who is living in and around us. Okay, so we should play in a very low voice also. Next, use of horns should be minimized, especially near in a public place such as hospital, religious place, and schools. Okay, whenever there is nearby the school, if there is in schools, okay, if there is in hospitals, or if there is a religion place, okay, so we should minimize, or we should stop using the horns in place of it. If we talk about the mazurums, okay, in a mazurum place in India, we have a notice. Okay, a mazurum is a place where they have stopped using the horn. Without the horn, okay, they follow the traffic in such a way they reduce the noise pollution by stopping the is by turning off the horn on the vehicles. Okay, soundproof systems should be installed in the industry and party hall and other building that produce a high amounts of unwanted sounds. Okay, so if there is any like party halls or industries, there should be a soundproof. Okay, soundproof system should be there, which does not go outside of their hall. Okay, should not go outside of the hall, it should be under the hall only. The trees should be planted in a large number as they can absorb unwanted noise from the environment. Okay, the more trees are there, the more they absorb. Okay, if trees are less, that means more noise pollution will be there. So tree is very much important, not only from like providing like what is that, oxygens or said, but they also reduce the noise pollutions. Okay, which is very harmful for us. Next, we see people who is noisy conditions such as industries and mines should be provided earplug to protect the air. So people who is work in a noisy condition like industries and mine, okay, they should use an earplugs to protect their ears also. People should make aware of the noise pollution, it adverse effects, so that they can take an active involvement in preventing. Okay, so these are some preventions of the noise pollution and how can we stop this. Okay, so this is all about the topics of the sound, noise, the sound. Okay, I believe if you understand all this entire topic and go through the chapters, you will understand more about it. Okay, anyway, we'll meet up in the next video lectures, that is next chapters. Okay, stay safe, bye bye.